Have you ever thought of the work, the effort that goes into creating the amazing buildings that we have in our Islamic history? Well, in this episode, we discuss with someone who's dedicated a lot of his time to preserving these parts of our history. Check it out.
La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Razwan Beg. I'm a calligrapher, artist, and I do this calligraphy for last 22 years. 22 years ago, when there's a lot of conflicts happening around the world in Middle East, I would like to preserve these things. So I used to go Sotheby's, Binks and Christie's, different auctions, where I need expertise, and my father supported me to provide that expertise that, oh, this is the best pieces, we should have to buy those things and we have to preserve them. And he helped me to make connection with British Museum and other museums, so how I can preserve and conserve these manuscripts. We have to use acid-free paper, we have to use a climate control systems, we have to check the humidity where we preserve and keep those things. So the next generations can actually understand that the people who spend their whole life actually writing one Quran. In my collection today you will see a lot of collection which is related to Islamic world, Seljuk period ceramic, you will see carpets, you will see a lot of manuscripts and some of the Qurans which is very rare Qurans where a lot of illuminations you will see. You will see around some of my own calligraphic work as well. This exhibition is actually to promote a relationship with the Western world and peace. And this is another way actually to show people that you will, without the peace, you will never create art.
The strength to let compassion flow, the love to fill a life with hope. Open your hearts. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah.
I think this art around over here, there's a lot of things which is cover most of the beauty of Islamic world as well. I mean, as you mentioned about this harakat carpet, which is a double knot carpet, it's got about 5,000 knots in 1 inch. And it took weavers about 12 years to complete this carpet. So my message is to the world is that this art which is belong to the Islamic world, if we create peace in those places, we will create more art. We have to spread peace, and this is the only way, I think, in my understanding, that art can be the medium actually to spread peace in the world. So we have to stop and create peace around the world, and this is another way to spread Islam.
So that was Ridwan.
Yeah.
Ustaz Ridwan.
Yeah.
And I went to see him at the Bucks County Museum, and I will tell, I mean, that was an experience I'll never forget. Honestly, I mean, this is one of the things that you have to experience and to appreciate the science, the discipline, the history, and the relics of what this man is doing and what generally is being done in the Muslim world on a daily basis.
It's not something I would like get excited about, but you're getting excited. You were there, you saw it. So what do you see off camera that was like what you described?
Even on camera, I mean, even on camera. But what I saw just being there in the place was just the vast history of the Islamic culture. And for example, seeing manuscripts that took like 12 years for one person to write by hand. 12 years to write one manuscript by hand, right? And the science behind writing an alif, like he mentioned in one of his workshops, which you'll see in the video, that alif can have up to 10 diametric points. And so the calligrapher has to master how to write an alif with perfect precision.
So alif is not just one letter, it's 10 points.
10 points
you
in the
have to
letter.
hit each
Exactly.
one. Man.
And then he mentions that for the trained calligrapher, he could see where the calligrapher who wrote it stopped, just by the level of ink and the pressure,
really?
and the angle at which they held it. And I was like, that's the beginning of the alphabet, alif.
Yeah.
And then look at the perfection from the beginning, the perfection. But the thought behind it was that this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's perfect. And so in transmitting it on paper,
you got to give it that respect.
Exactly, the perfection has to also flow through. And so he spoke about that, I guess that side of the philosophy of calligraphy and the evolution of calligraphy. I never knew that, for example, you have Kufic script. You have those that were developed under the Turkish Ottoman Empire, those developed in North Africa, those developed in Hijazi. The different types of scripts developed, and the stories behind them was just, the respect level for me just went up like that. And then to see the manuscripts like in front of me that are 1,000 years old, and to try and kind of imagine the person who wrote it out and the life they lived, and the era in which they lived in, and the love and dedication they put into learning how to write the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he opened up a new kind of world for me. When I look at the page today, the Mus'haf, it's a different experience. Every letter for me is an appreciated letter.
It's something rare that you see, I think, often these days, is that kind of giving that detail, that attention to detail, because a lot of stuff now, we could do it quickly, right? A lot of things are quickly. Producing stuff is quick, right? But back then, they got to give it that dedication. In the end, it's sacred, and they treated it sacred, if you like.
And even, as you mentioned a good point here, I remember last year hearing that handwriting for our generation is almost extinct.
It's going out the window.
People can't write letters by hand anymore, and university students couldn't write a thank you letter. And they did a poll, and like 1 in 10 had never written a thank you letter, because it's all digital. So you lose the connection with the pen and paper.
And in California now, in schools, kids don't have to know how to write anymore with the handwriting.
Wow.
So even in schools, like officially, like policy level, is going out the window. But even this reminds me as well, when I visited Spain, Andalusia, when you see the detail that went into the buildings there, it's similar, isn't it? It's that, and also they were writing Quran on the walls as well. So again, it's like that attention to detail. And you think, what is the point? Like, let's be real. This is what people think. What is the point of putting, years into writing something out?
Exactly.
But
which will be, by the way, one tile in like a massive mural or something. Mural. So what's the purpose? But and this is really the crux of the matter. What he mentioned was that art, because at the end of the day, calligraphy is beautification of writing. And as we know, everything has what they call zina, or everything has its own beautification. And the beautification of speech is eloquence, and of writing is calligraphy. And so there's a discipline, a science behind that. People have to spend years to master how to write. Now, what he was saying was that this is art, Islamic art. And what it shows to the world is that we have the appreciation civilization, the appreciation of beauty, symmetry, balance, order, right? Culture, education. So it requires all of these components to come together to just make one piece of art. And then he goes on to say that the wars happening in the world, the devastation, art is being demolished.
And that's like a metaphor as well.
It's a metaphor.
It's like just how the art is being demolished, the civilization, if you like, is being demolished.
Absolutely.
And you can only create art. You could think about it. If war is surrounding you, you can't take that time to dedicate to art.
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury to be able to do that. So only in places where people have learned to get on with each other and to, flourish, do you then find people saying, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that.
And art flourishes.
Yeah.
And also art is another way of externalizing beauty and happiness. Because art usually is beautiful, it's enticing, it's refined, right? So people take time to externalize happiness or what they experience around them. So as you said, if you live in a war zone or in a place where you're lacking the basic necessities, you have no luxury to dedicate towards art. So it's like a meter to measure peace and prosperity in a country. And that's what you're saying. So, and he said something really beautiful, and I want people to really pay attention. He said, the message to the world, if you stop the wars, we'll create more art. So if you stop the wars, we promise to make more art. That's a beautiful bargain. He said, stop the wars, and we'll bring more beauty to the world with our art. And I found that so touching and so profound, because oftentimes for us, art is just like cartoons and pictures, but it goes beyond that.
It's about civilization,
imagery, all of that artistry. It goes beyond that. And what I found interesting, however, was that when we say Islamic art, most of us would think, what's Islam got to do with art? Or what's art got to do with Islam? Because what we think of art today is like Western art. Paintings,
museums,
statues, museums. And we lost the idea that art has always been part of our religion. You go to the Masjid al-Haram, it's beautiful art. Just looking at the Kaaba,
the Kaaba
and the Haram. You go to Medina, you look at the bricks, you look at the doors, right? You look at the environment. It's beautiful. This is art in essence,
and also
beautification.
In a way, like, it is very Islamic in the sense where non-Muslims, when they were creating art, they would often do sculptures, whatever, of people, right? Whereas Muslims avoided that, and that constraint of not painting or sculpting anything living, that allowed them to then explore different things like geometry, symmetry, all these things that we see like in south of Spain and all that.
Absolutely, And he mentioned also off camera, because we had a long discussion. I mean, I only regret we didn't have time to do more. It's such a beautiful, enlightening experience. He mentioned that Pablo Picasso, he is reported to have said, when my art ends, Islamic calligraphy begins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When my art ends, calligraphy of Islam begins. Because really and truly, the symmetry, the balance, the measurement, the proportions, the refinery, this is art at its highest level. And to do all of that, to convey so much with such little kind of imagery of human beings, and it takes more skill. It's like a very eloquent poet can say a lot with less words. It's only when you don't have eloquence, you have to increase your words to convey a message. And so we don't have, for example, we can't draw human beings in Islam, we can't draw living animate things, but we actually have art which is so much more refined, and we use it for everything. We decorate so many things with it. In countries such as Morocco, for example, I think it's a beautiful country. Everything is decorated. Everything is like, there's art everywhere. The food you eat is artistically presented. The doors, you go into a house, the floors, the tiles, the sofas, the clothing of people, sometimes the alleyways, the colors, the symmetry. I mean, it's just everywhere.
It's like a reflection of your culture, isn't it?
Exactly, culture.
And it's interesting, the fact that in Islam, like, a large part of our art is writing. Right?
Absolutely.
So what might that mean, like, from our culture? Then when we express ourselves creatively, it comes out as writing. Maybe that's to do with the respect we have for knowledge, or the respect we have for iqra, read, or something like that, isn't it? It comes out as meanings, like, and I like that, because sometimes I find it hard, like abstract stuff, but when I see that it's words that I can read and understand, and it's done in that artistic way, that's cool for me, because I can still read it and get something out of it. It's more direct, if you like.
And it's more, I think it's more, as you mentioned, the meaning is important. So you will find meaning in the piece of art. Even, for example, pottery, carpentry, clothing. You'll find piece of such items decorated with ayat sometimes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's the meaning of that? Because the religion permeates everything. The belief in God, which has inspired us, because if you look at the Quran, for example, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا, we have beautified the heavens. Beautification. Allah is the one who fashions. Allah is beauty, He loves beauty. So we kind of almost extend that as human beings. We extend that around us.
Yeah, it's like an aspiration. Yeah. And even if you go to the gardens, I go back to the south of Spain. Why is it that the art went into gardens? It went into the plants. It went into the waterways. Yeah, because they were reading the Quran about Jannat and tajri min tahtihim al-anhar. And so they aspired for that so much that then they started putting it into not just their houses but then their art as well, like as an extension. So it's cool to see how the culture and your beliefs and the language even, how that all goes into the final expression, which is the art in the end.
Now I'm going to get a bit controversial here.
Okay.
So we're in the UK, okay, and we've got exhibitions, museums, where all this fine art from the Islamic world is being shown to the world.
Yeah.
Do you think in the Muslim world, vis-a-vis countries where we've got majority Muslim population, do you think we kind of we don't appreciate art, Islamic art as much? Do you think that's more appreciated in the West? Because I tend to think that it's more, there's more efforts made to exhibit,
to present it,
and to preserve and to present. It may be in the Western world, and there is, perhaps it's my experience being limited, but I get a sense of feeling that we don't really know what we have of culture in terms of the artistic.
I think over there, no doubt, there are people there preserving and working on it.
No doubt, I'm talking about general.
Yeah. But I think as well, in general, the people, they're more in survival mode. Not in terms of where's my food, because there are plenty of people in the Muslim world that are eating fine. But I'm talking intellectually, maybe they're more in survival mode.
I see, defending
Yeah, like there's just, even if you've got food in your house and everything, there are other things maybe that you're more concerned about, isn't it? And so that goes back to the point of when you're in peace, harmony, all that, then you can think about art, isn't it? But maybe thinking more about the art and what we find in our past, maybe that will give the pride to then step up your thinking level to another level, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think I really look forward to seeing more arts from our generation specifically. I think as we enter the digital age, we're already in it anyway. But to see that flourishing of art, even in the digital platform, would be great, because people who see beauty, beauty can't be denied. It has no language.
Exactly.
So whether you're Chinese, whether you're American, when something is beautiful, there's no word required.
And when you put effort into it and dedication, like El Cid. El Cid is going around, and he's kind of got a modern twist.
Is he the Tunisian?
Yeah. So he's done it everywhere now. He, like most major cities, he has done some kind of graffiti work. He calls it calligraffiti, doesn't he?
Yes, that's a nice word.
Yeah. So I know he's done it in the Muslim world. Like for example, underpasses in Doha, he did that. But then also he's done in Paris several times.
Wow, Paris.
He's done Tunisia. He did London, I think, last summer. So he's going to many places and expressing himself, putting it out there. And these things, they get covered in media as well. So
of course. I mean, you mentioned Al Cid, there's also Banksy.
Okay,
And the kind of media frenzy he drives just by drawing one. Because you imagine the kind of influence it has. So I think definitely art is one medium through which we can promote understanding, peace, respect, and also just an insight into a culture, into a people. Because I think where art is taken away, where creative expression is taken away, it's very easy to kind of stereotype people.
Yes.
And to kind of not see them as being as humane as you are, or as developed as you are. But art is a window into the soul, so you can see that not only do people have culture, feelings, emotions, expression, sophistication, So art does all of that. And I think Islamic art really is something that really the world needs a lot more of.
For real.
In the future. For
real. Should we get into some of these comments that we found online?
Absolutely.
So Salam Gateway says, Islamic art is big business. Christie's recently sold almost £10 million of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Christie's, of course, for those who don't know, is a big auction house in the UK.
Okay.
Very famous. And Islamic art is being presented and sold in Christie's. So to show you that people are collecting this art, it has value. Okay. And I think what they're trying to raise here is that there is value, there's an appreciation for this, even at the highest level of the establishment in the West.
Yeah, and people, they're into it, they're spending money on it. Then we got art does not need to change the world, it it nearly needs to start the conversation. I think it really needs a conversation. Yeah, that's from Odu Wolf. Yeah, I mean, it does start a conversation, like you said about Banksy, sorry. So, yeah, for real. I mean, but then it could go further than that and change parts of the world.
Yes.
I mean, the world's like a jigsaw. If you take one piece out, you've changed the whole thing.
Yes, that's really
so if you start a conversation, you are kind of changing the world. I don't know, what do you think?
I think it's a good observation that perhaps art alone is not the total solution, but it's definitely a gateway towards the ultimate solution.
Like they said, it starts a conversation.
Yeah.
So it can eventually cause a change, you know.
Excellent topic, and I really hope we have more opportunities to discuss this in the future. And I hope it's ignited in some kind of thinking and discussion amongst those who are watching today, to think about art from that perspective as well, as a medium, as a carrier, as a message bearer of peace, prosperity, and culture, and all those beautiful things. We will now go into a street survey to see what the public has to say about this topic. Namely, is art a medium that can carry a message of peace or not? We'll be back shortly.
Be right back.
But there are many things, and it's very important for us to understand our culture and our history, and this is preserved in many museums that you see. And this is also very important, not just from an art point of view, but it shows how Islam brought forward many other things which are used in our daily lives today, such as algebra and other artists and other things which are very important to us. So I implore and tell people that you should understand and also look into Islam deeper from a religious point of view, but also from the history and what it's brought to society today. You'll be very amazed. Thank you.
Art is all around us. It's what makes writing beautiful. Words are beautified by poetry. The paper is beautified by calligraphy. The world around us has been designed with beauty, with the intention of inspiring hope and promoting happiness.
Imagine the effort put into every intricate detail of a piece of art, of a sculpture, and the fact that it stays there forever, for people later on to come and view it and see the civilization, the sophistication, the culture that you left behind.
Islam as a culture and a civilization has so much beauty to share with the world.
So express yourself creatively. Get your message out there in whatever medium it is. It doesn't have to be shouting, it doesn't have to be written, it could be whatever you find suits your message.
We seek to beautify our houses, we beautify our clothing, we beautify our speech, but it is also time for us to beautify the way we live and the environment around us. It is perhaps the right time and the right day for us now, as Muslims, as an ummah, to show the world how much beauty we have within our religion, within our culture, within our rich heritage.
Only when you have peace can you contribute to the world with art. Can you express yourself creatively? When you've got that space, that peace of mind, can you do that?
And so, let us put the guns down and perhaps pick up the pen of Islam and the paintbrush of peace, and let us decorate our world with peace and tranquility. Always remember to rise above the mark.